Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Over the past week, I've released a bunch of category videos for my top games of the year. Top party games, top family games, top cooperative games, top small box games, that sort of thing. But this is just my top 10 overall games of 2022. No categories, just great games. I'm starting my list with two honorable mentions, and the reason I'm doing that is because I don't know where to put these. The first is Clank Catacombs, and the reason this is an honorable mention is because I've only had a chance to play through a full game of this once, and so I don't feel comfortable putting it in my top 10 off of one play. But that being said, boy did I love that one play. It was so fun, and I can see this rising into my top 10 with more plays. It came out at the end of the year, so I didn't really get a chance to play it that much, but it combines the best parts of Clank, where you are diving into a dungeon, grabbing loot, and trying to get out before a dragon comes after you and burns you up. It combines that with a classic sort of dungeon crawl system where you are exploring the board as you go. Instead of just a set board, it is tiles, and so you are flipping over tiles as you dive deeper into the dungeon. And so there's that excitement factor. You never know what's coming up. You never know if it's going to be what you needed. So again, I really loved my play of this, and I imagine it will eventually be in my top 10, but it's not there yet. And the other honorable mention that I have is Gutenberg. And the reason I'm not sure what to do with this is because I don't know whether you consider it a 2021 release or a 2022 release. It came out at the end of 2021 in Europe, and a lot of people got copies then. It didn't technically come to the United States until 2022. Portal Games brought it over here. And so if you want to consider it a 2022 release, then it would be in my top 5. I love the game so much. It is really, really fun. It is a simple auction bidding system, but it's done so well. You are just placing cubes onto the action selection that you want, and whoever has the more cubes there gets to pick first. And so you're picking things that you need for your printing press. You're picking ink, you're picking orders, you're picking special abilities. And so it's one of those games that's like pretty easy to teach, and yet it feels like there's a lot going on. There's gears that turn that get you special abilities, so there's a tactile element that's fun too. It's a really, really great game. And, if you consider it a 2021 release, then strike it from the record. That's why it's in my honorable mentions. I don't know where to put it. It's either a 2021 or 2022 release. That is Gutenberg. All right, now into my actual top 10 of the year. In 10, I have First Rat. This is a really sort of interesting new way to do worker placement, because some people call it a racing game, but it's not really a race to the top of this track. You can race to the top of the track, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you a win. It's more a worker placement game with forward movement. You are moving your workers forward on this track and then getting different resources and benefits, and then you're using those resources to build components of a rocket ship, to become the cheese master, to do a bunch of different stuff. There's a bunch of ways to score points. And so really what it is, it's not really a race game to the top of the track. It's a race to get your cubes into the prime scoring location spots. If you can complete something first, you can put a scoring cube there, and the game is mostly triggered, the end of the game is mostly triggered by who gets their cubes out first. And so I like to think of it as a worker placement game with forward movement, and that's why it feels different. It's not just put your guys down and get them back. It does worker placement in a different way. That's why I really like it. That's First Rat. My number 9 is Creature Comforts, and this is also a worker placement game that's doing it a little different. I like that we're trying to figure out new ways to do different mechanisms and stuff like that. In Creature Comforts, to get a benefit from a spot, you need both a worker there and the appropriate numbered dice. And so you roll a couple of dice before you place your workers, but then you place out your workers and you roll more dice after that. So there's a bit of a gambling aspect to the game. You know, you can go where you're pretty sure you know you're gonna get the benefits, or you can be like, I'm gonna go here, and if I get a 6, that's gonna be tight and I'm gonna get exactly what I needed. But boy, I might not get a 6. And I love that, that sort of tension and excitement factor in the game. I'm not somebody that loves dry Euros because I want there to be a little bit unknown in the game. I don't want it to be all luck. That's frustrating. Then you have no agency over the game. But I want there to be strategy and a little bit of unknown. So there is that good tension. And Creature Comforts does that really well. Plus, it doesn't hurt that it is super adorable. All of the, artwork is amazing in the game. The creatures are really cute. The theme of the game is that you're preparing for the coming winter, and it feels like that because you're getting a knit sweater, you're getting a rocking chair, you're getting different goods that can sort of like make you comfortable through the winter, and I really like that theme. Number 8 is Chronicles of Avil, and this is a game that I don't think does anything super different. There's nothing wildly original in the game, but all of the parts come together in such a fun package. The way I like to describe it is like a summer blockbuster movie. Nothing in here is gonna break your brain or make you go, wow, they really came up with something clever, but it just all comes together in a package that makes you go, man, we had a great time together. I love that game, playing it with you guys. It is a cooperative game with a variable board. That is one of the coolest things about it. You'll be placing tiles out there so you never know where things are gonna be arranged. And then you're moving around the board, rolling dice, and fighting bad guys. And you are preparing for a big bad guy at the end of the game. And so you can get upgrades for your character throughout the game. The player boards are some of the best I've ever seen. They're these dual layered player boards that have got big chunky components that you put into it. So you can get your hero a shield, you can get them a sword, you can sort of upgrade their stuff throughout the game. And that makes it fun too, because when you're playing it cooperatively, different people are gonna upgrade in different ways, and so you'll be like, oh, you're the fighting guy, and you're the movement guy, and everybody will have sort of their different roles as part of the team. So if you like dice rolling and fighting bad guys, this is a really good one. I also like that it scales really well in difficulty. You can play an easy game, you can play a hard game, and both of them feel different and will present different challenges. You just want a good night hanging out with your friends, they don't want to think too hard, play an easy game. You want a real challenge? Play a hard game. Chronicles of Avil. Number 7 is Blood on the Clocktower. This is a hidden role game with more strategy and more roles and more stuff going on than any hidden role game I've ever played. I did not include this in my party game, video because it doesn't feel like a party game. A lot of hidden role games really are party games. They're light and fun and breezy. This, you got some figuring out to do, You gotta definitely figure out how it works, how the different roles work, who can do what. Everybody has different special abilities. One of the things that's great is even if you die in this game, you're still involved, you are still active, you still get a vote to use and things like that. So, there's no player elimination, which I really appreciate, because there's nothing worse than getting eliminated on the first turn and then having to wait around 45 minutes to be able to hang out with your friends again. And so now, the reason that this is, number 7 and maybe not higher than that is there is a decent amount of heavy lifting in the sense that one person really needs to know what's going on. You either need to bring in a storyteller to run a game for you, or one person is going to have to do some work to figure out all the roles, to figure out how to lead the narrative and things like that. And the game experience is going to be dependent somewhat on that storyteller. They can ruin it or make it a great experience. They have a decent amount of power in terms of who's getting what role and what's going to happen and stuff like that in the story. But if you like hidden role games and you want one with a little bit more strategy, Blood on the Clocktower is super memorable, super fun. You will leave a night of this with stories to tell with your friends. Number 6 is Ready, Set, Bet. This game is just wild and loud and fun. This is a super great game to play it like a convention where everybody's invested, people are coming over to watch you play. In the game, one person or an app is rolling dice for horses on a track, and then these horses are moving forward depending on the results of the die rolls. And then everybody else is betting in real time on which horses are going to win. There's a bunch of different ways to bet. It's not just on first, second, third. There's also, you can bet that any orange horse is going to finish before a blue horse. You can bet on that's going to be a by a nose finish. You can bet on a blowout. There's a lot of different ways to bet in the game. So, there is more going on than you might think at first. At first, you're like, oh, roll dice, put down bets. But then you're like, oh, there's all these different ways to bet and all these different special abilities that you can get through VIP cards and stuff like that. So, but it is a loud game. And I know that for some people is going to be a really good thing. And other people, one of my roommates doesn't like the game because he's like, it's just too loud. There's too many people yelling. There's too much going on. But to me, I love that. You can kind of tell I'm a loud person. You can't shut me up. It's tough to do. And so Ready, Set, Bet, if you are ready for like a big, loud social game, it's super fun and worth checking out. Number 5 on my list is Scout. And this is an amazingly clever little card game. The thing that makes it different from other card games is you do not get to arrange the order of the cards in your hand. You have to play the cards as they are dealt to you. The one thing you can do, cards are sort of split in half and there's a number at the top and the number at the bottom. And you can flip your entire hand over and play it that way instead. So when you get all your cards, you're looking like, do I want to play it this way? Do I want to play it this way? And the gameplay is fairly simple. You're just trying to play cards and get rid of your hand the quickest, and you're doing it by, if it's a single card, you need a higher number, you can play doubles, you can play triples, you can play runs, all of that sort of stuff to sort of beat the current hand that's on the table. And so there's a lot of thinkiness in terms of okay, how do I play this one single card that then brings these two cards together, and now I have a pair because I'm playing that out of the middle, and now these two cards are coming together, and now I have a pair. Now I have a run. Now I have what I need. So, you're definitely staring at your cards trying to figure out in what order to play them, how you can play them, that sort of thing to kind of get what you need. And, it's just a really interesting card game, and it comes in a crazy small box. So if you want a easily transportable game, this is by far the best one of the year. You can throw it in your pocket and bring it everywhere. It's super fun. Scout. Number 4 on my top games of 2022 is Green Team Wins. I am a social gamer. I love playing games where I get to talk and hang out and chat and all that sort of stuff. I like playing quiet games every once in a while, but if you gave me the option, I'm always gonna pick a game where there's some interaction and some talking and some fun with that. And Green Team Wins is one of the most social games I've ever played because the gameplay is almost secondary to the debates and the conversations that you have throughout the game. It's a very simple concept. You are answering a question, and then you only get points if you are in the majority of the answers that come out for that question. And because of that, it always just leads to like those funny debates where you're sure that this option is going to be the best option, and then someone else, the group picks something else, and you're like, what? In what world is that the right answer here? How do you guys think that? And I've played this game with a lot of different groups, and it's super interesting to see the group dynamic of how it changes with different groups. I'll have played the game, and then that question will come up in another game, and I'm like, oh, I know what to write here. And then the new group picks something else, and I'm like, no, I was supposed to have a leg up. I knew what was the right answer, and you guys picked something else. I hate that. And so, yeah, if you want like a big group party game, I will say Green Team Wins. I don't think I would play it with less than like 6 people, because you want to have the option for different majorities and conversations and stuff like that. So, but if you're playing with like a group of 6 to 12 people, it is gonna always be one of my go-to games for a larger group like that, because it's just so social and fun. Number 3 is Acropolis. And one of the reasons I love this game is because it is a strategy game full of real choices and decisions, and yet I can play it in under 30 minutes. Honestly, if I'm playing with people who know what they're doing, you can play this game in like 20 minutes, which is wonderful. There are rarely games that have this much strategy that play this quickly. I love that about the game. It is a tile laying game, but the thing that it does different than most tile laying games is you're not just placing tiles and increasing the size of your area. You're also going up. And that is where you're going to score a lot of points in this game, because stuff on the second level is worth 2 points. Stuff on the third level is worth 3 points. And so you want to figure out how to build up. And it makes for some tough choices, because when you build up, you're going to cover things on the bottom level that would get you points. And so you're like, oh gosh, I guess I got to get rid of these points to hopefully get more points. And in the game, there are a bunch of different tile color types, and all of the tile color types are going to score you points in different ways. Blue's going to score you points for contiguous area. Yellow's going to score your points for isolated. Red's going to score you points for being on the edge. And so there's a lot of different things to think about when you're placing your tile. If you want a strategy game that plays quickly, Acropolis is great. Number 2 is Starship Captains. And this is literally Star Trek the board game without the IP. So if you are a Star Trek fan, you definitely got to check this out. I love space games in general. It's one of my favorite genres of games, and this does space in a great way, because there are a lot of options to do, but it's all fairly simple to wrap your head around. You can fly to different planets, complete missions, you're gonna fight space pirates along the way, you can get the help of droids, you have to manage damage throughout the game. You're on a janky old spaceship that constantly is getting damaged. You can upgrade your technology to get you special abilities throughout the game. It feels like an open-ended game. There's a lot of different options. You can just fly around in space and try to optimize your strategy as you're going. The production value is also unreal in this game. Your spaceship player board is so cool, and the way you get your meeples feels very novel. You have meeples in your ready room, and then once you use them, you slot them up into a queue, and then the next round, you slide your queue forward, and then you still have 3 meeples left over you don't get to use for the next round. So there's that real, all the meeple colors are going to do different things for you, but you also want to consider what order you're using them in, because if you want something 2 turns in a row, you need to do it at the start of your turn. Because if you do it at the end of your turn, it's going to be in the back of the queue line. You're not going to get it into your ready room the next turn. And so I love that sort of thinkiness of it. This is another one that I feel like is real strategic and real thinky, and definitely, still plays in 90 minutes, 2 hours, but I still feel like it's decently easy to teach people because on your turn, you can really only do one of a couple of things. So you're never just analysis paralysis, oh, I have no idea what to do. You can kind of figure out what you want to do pretty quickly. Starship Captains. And my number one of the year is Wonderland's War. I talked earlier in this video about how I love games that are both strategic and also have a bit of an excitement and an unknown factor to them. And I think Wonderland's War hits that balance really, really well. Because there is a worker placement round of the game where you are getting benefits, getting tokens to add to your bag, chips to add to your bag, and stuff like that. But then later in the game, when you're doing the area control part of the game, you are literally just reaching into your bag and getting chips. And different chips are going to have different values, they're going to have different special abilities, and then there's even madness chips in the bag, which are bad for you. So there's a lot of strategy in terms of what benefits do you want to get, what type of tokens, chips do you want to add to your bag, all of that sort of stuff. You have to put a lot of thought and strategy into it. But then there's still just that moment of excitement of reach into the bag, let me see what I got, did I get what I needed? You know, there are times where you have no business winning the area control aspect of the game, and then you just pull everything you need and you're like, boom, 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 I got exactly the 3 chips I needed out of my bag. I just won this battle, hallelujah, in your face. But then there's also times where you're like, did I really just pull 3 madness chips in a row? This game hates me. The universe hates me. They want me to lose this game. And so, yes, there is, again, a lot of strategy in the game, but there's just that fun, exciting, unknown aspect to it as well. This is another one where the production value also just really ups the feeling and the experience of the game, right? The artwork is incredible. It's an Alice in Wonderland theme, and that theme really comes through in the artwork and the standees and all of that sort of stuff. And it just looks very vibrant on the table. It looks super fun. So as soon as you even see it, you feel impressed and excited to play it. So yeah, my number one game of the year, that is Wonderland's War. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you had a great year of games in 2022. I hope you found a bunch of stuff that made you fall in love, that gave you great experiences with your friends, all of that sort of stuff. So thanks for checking out my video. I have a Patreon if you want to support the work that I'm doing here on the internet. It's just patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video. Thanks so much for all your likes and subscribes. I've had a really great year on the platform, and I really appreciate everybody engaging and commenting and all that sort of stuff. I love the board game community. I'm really happy to be part of it. Thanks so much for all that you do out there. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.